What's going on to all my movie fans out there, horror slasher fans and Scream fans? Welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new early movie review, and today we are discussing the new Scream film, Scream 5, Scream 2022. Got a chance to check it out in theaters last week, and I'm so excited to share my pros, my cons, my favorite moments, give you my overall thoughts, and let you know if it's worth checking out in theaters in this spoiler-free review. But before we stab into it, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, we are on the quest to 20,000 subscribers, so if you want to be a part of the community, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. And as you can see on the screen now, if you enjoyed this review, well, make sure to like the review but also share it. But more importantly, once you've seen this new Scream film, I want to talk about it with you all. So let's go ahead and talk about your pros, your cons, favorite moments, favorite kill, favorite new character. What were some moments that didn't work for you all? And more importantly, let's talk about the continuation of this franchise. Once you see it, do you want to see more from it? But more importantly, tell me, what is your favorite scary movie in the comments below? So let's kick things off my positives in this spoiler-free review. First and foremost, I want to take the time to thank the directors of this film who come from Radio Silence Productions, Matt and Tyler, as well as the writer of this film and the writers of the film, I should say. Not only do they pay homage to legendary director Wes Craven, who passed away in 2015, and such a great visionary director and what he brought to horror and slashers and what he brought to his franchise, but I was so impressed by how they managed to bring nuance, bring something fresh and new to the franchise, and bring their vision into this beloved franchise. This is how you do it, Hollywood. This is how you do a sequel to a film from Scream 4, for example, that came out 11 years ago, but to continue a plot that came out from a film from 26 years ago. I was just so impressed by how they were able to do that. I thought that the attention to detail was so meticulous, from the Easter eggs from all of the previous 4 Scream films that came before it, the one-liners, being able to recreate iconic moments from this franchise, whether it be musical cues, the creative, cool camera angles, and of course, being able to bring back the legacy characters from this franchise and interweave them with this new batch of characters was something that was just beyond impressive. I love this script. It did not waste any time, but instead, it laid out the plot in such a way that I think diehard fans like myself of this franchise will appreciate this film, but it does something very rare. I think that someone that's never seen a Scream film before is going to be able to see this film and be able to follow along on what's going on. It's a very impressive feat. So impressed by what they were able to do with this film, but also I have to applaud the tropes that I've come to love from this franchise, which is the meta nature, being so self-aware of not only the franchise, but be self-aware of what happens in horror films and slasher films. I love what they were able to do there. It knows the rules of the films that came before, but also too, there's some commentary that I love in this film that talks about A24 films and elevated horror and the debate with that. It talks about social media. It talks about Star Wars and toxicity within the fandom. There's so much to love about this film, and I just really enjoyed the script. So let's move on to performances, and I want to start off with the OGs. We're talking Courteney Cox, we're talking David Arquette, and of course we're talking about the Scream Queen herself and Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott. Let's talk about Gail. Now, Gail, it was so great to see Courteney Cox back because she has the Gail isms in this film. She still has her Gail ways about her, but she's matured. She's learned from her past mistakes. And again, I thought Courteney Cox was great. David Arquette as Dewey, he is ready. He ain't playing around in this movie. He has read the rule book of how to survive these Scream films. I thought Dewey was just so great where he is in this film, and you kind of understand what he's been going through and what happened in the past. I love the narrative they gave him, but also what he did in this film. He was involved in 2 of my favorite scenes of this movie. One that takes place in a house that goes over the rules of this new film, but also there's a scene in a hospital, and I'm just going to say that I thought that Dewey was great, but of course we got to finish things off with Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott. This to me was just like Jamie Lee Curtis in 2018's Halloween. It's just as she never left the role. She's just like hitting it on cylinders. She is placed so perfectly in the film. There's not too much of the legacy characters. There's not too little of the legacy characters. I thought that they blended their roles into this film so perfectly, which brings me to the performances of the new cast. Now, this is 100% a positive, and this might be a hot take. I was so invested in the new characters that I'm not gonna lie, I almost forgot that the legacy characters were in this film. That's how invested I was in these new characters. Starting off with our lead actress, Melissa Barrera as I love these names. Sam Carpenter, you know who that's paying homage to there? One of my favorite Halloween movies and my favorite horror film is Halloween 1978. But Sam Carpenter, Melissa Barrera, ever since I saw her last year in The Heights, I said, oh yeah, she's a megastar. She's a lead actress, and she proves me right in this film. She's so great in this movie as our lead actress. She does not disappoint. I loved her role, and I love how integral she is to the history of Scream. I'll just kind of leave it at that, but I thought she was fantastic. I thought that Jenna Ortega as Tara Carpenter, she's so great. I've been following her career for quite a while now. She has such an impressive career in front of her. I thought she was fantastic in this movie. You know, Jack Quaid as Richie was great. We have Dylan Marquette as Wes. I love that his name is Wes, and the way that they tie that name to the film was fantastic. What we get with Wes and his mother Judy, who's another legacy character within this franchise, they had one of the most emotional moments in the film, which I absolutely love. You know, we have Mikey Madsen as Amber, but I want to talk about the standouts, the MVPs for me in this film, starting off with the great Roger L. Jackson as the legendary voice as Ghostface. He was fantastic, but I'm not going to lie, ladies and gentlemen, these two characters stole the film for me. They were my absolute MVPs. Those are the twins, Jasmine Savoy Brown and Madison Gooding. They play Mindy and Chad. They are twins in the film, and I won't say who they're connected to. You all that's been following this film know who they are legacy characters of, but I won't spoil it here. But they were fantastic. In particularly, Maddie was so great. She was fantastic. I loved everything she had to offer. And again, her relationship with her brother was fantastic. So those two characters were my standout. Everyone was great, but those two were my MVPs for me. So let's talk about, without spoiling, my favorite kills, my favorite moments. And by the way, the kills in this movie are some of the best in the franchise. So I won't obviously get into context. I won't spoil where they take place in the film or what happens. I'm just going to say things like, for example, I love the opening. I love the opening of the film. I'll just say that. I mentioned earlier there's a scene that takes place in the hospital. And when you all get that scene, be prepared to just be very impressed by it. There's two scenes at the hospital. There's another one, and you'll know what I'm talking about when you see the film. But there's a couple other moments. There is an homage to Psycho that takes place in the shower. I love that moment and that whole scene. And when I said emotional, you know what I'm talking about. The moment that they're talking about commentary and fandom and toxicity and fandom, I love that scene. And then without spoilers, the third act is just really entertaining. I'll just leave it at that. So those are some of my favorite moments without giving anything away. But the film isn't flawless. It isn't perfect. I do have some criticisms, and it isn't a lot. I'll say that. There are more kind of moments I felt were a little bit off. For example, there's an emotional moment in the second half of this film that I really enjoyed. I was really invested in that story and those characters and what happens. It's very heartbreaking. But for me, and this is where I talk about moments that didn't work, immediately following that, like literally seconds following that emotional moment, we get this really other big moment of a big reunion. I love the reunion, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it kind of undercut the emotional resonance that I was just given in that scene, and I wanted to spend a little bit more time in the consequences, in the emotional stakes I just placed in that scene. And once you all see the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but I just felt like it undercut the emotional resonance that I had, and I wanted to spend a little bit more time in that scene. Another moment that was a little bit off, I mentioned there's a moment in the hospital. I loved it. One of my favorite scenes in the entire film. The execution was great, and it was amazing. But there's a decision from a character that I felt like it was more of a plot device than it was like a logical choice by that character. What I mean by that is, and again, once you see the film, you know what I'm talking about, the film establishes these new characters and the legacy characters, and I think the decision this character makes goes against what the character would have done, and I thought it just kind of moved on the plot versus, like, again, a logical decision that character would have made. And there are other moments where certain characters make decisions. I'm like, that kind of goes against what you're establishing in this film or what was established in other films. Again, no spoilers, but when you see the movie, you know what I'm talking about there. And then lastly, I can't express enough how excited, how happy I was of where the third act takes place. And 99% of the third act really works for me. But I will say, when it comes to, and this is obviously a Scream trope and obviously a horror movie trope, but when we get the reveal of who's behind the killings, the awesome killings in this film, I think logistically speaking, I personally just have to go back, and I can't wait to revisit this film, but I want to go back and say, wait, how did the person do this, do that, and how there that? So I want to go back and kind of see if it lines up. I'm pretty sure that it does, but it was just something that played in my head. But more particularly when it comes to third act, there is a moment of recreating a very iconic moment in the Scream franchise, and I thought that the acting from the particular characters was a little bit off. I'll just kind of leave it at that. Again, I was kind of vague, but again, when you see the film, I think you'll know what I'm talking about in those moments I just mentioned there. But before we get into my overall thoughts on my score, if you stuck around to this point in the video, I appreciate you. Make sure if you haven't already to like the video, share the video, and go ahead and leave your thoughts in the comments. Overall, if you love the original Scream like I did and appreciate the sequels and what Wes Craven was able to bring to the genre, but bring to this franchise and what it offers, you will love this new Scream sequel. The direction is not only fresh, it has love and attention to detail and so much personality and energy. It's both a love letter to the original, but also fresh at the same time. It delivers and giving you laughs, thrills, and chills, and the performances from not only the OGs, but the new cast blend so perfectly. This is how you do it, Hollywood. This is how you do a continuation to a beloved franchise like Scream, but also give us something new and fresh. And again, paying homage to Wes Craven, and it has some of the best kills in the franchise. It has some of the best moments in the franchise. This is the textbook, ladies and gentlemen, of how you revive a franchise, continue a franchise, and bring it back to the top of the mountain. I'm going to give Scream 2022 Scream 5 a 4.5 out of 5. And if I were to give you all the ranking right off the top of my head, the 1996 Scream is still my number 1. I'm giving number 2, the brand new Scream, Scream 5, my number 2 slot. I love Scream 2, so I'm going to give that number 3. Number 4 is Scream 3, and then number 5 is Scream 4. I don't hate any of these movies. I love them from what they are. It's such a great franchise. And if you ask me if I want to see more, hell yes. Give me more of this from the same creators. There is a door that can open up more sequels. And particularly, there are some characters that we don't get to see in this movie that they reference to a couple times. And I think there's more of a story to be told. So I want more. I love this film. And I want to know what you all thought about it once you've seen it. Again, favorite moments, favorite new characters, what worked, what didn't work, do you want to see more, and of course, what's your favorite scary movie? Mine is Halloween 1978. Share yours in the comments. If you stuck around to this point in review, I appreciate every single one of you all. Like I said up top, make sure to like, share, comment, and again, we're on the quest to 20,000 subscribers, so hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, come and join the community. So many more things coming pretty soon. We're talking Euphoria Season 2, we're talking Peacemaker, we're talking Ozark Season 4. We got my top 10s list on the channel now, so check out all that content. Again, I appreciate every single one of you all. Hope you enjoyed this review. As you can see on the screen now, subscribe to my channel, check out my other content. We'll catch you in the next video.